Hey guys, what's up? And if you see me doing anything, it's just my dog. If you hear anything in the background, she's just waking up from a nap. It's cold out, so of course she's going to stay indoors a little bit to hibernate, if you will. And it is raining outside as we speak, so there's that. But yeah, welcome to a new live topics on my mind, and we have a bunch of topics to go over, as you can probably see right there. And you probably see in the description as well. But yeah, we have a ton of topics to go over here. And I'll tell you guys, it's been one of those interesting weeks, if you will, as far as I'm concerned. My finger just hit the mic there. It's been one of those interesting weeks, to say the least, uh, due to the fact due to the fact that basically, because due to the fact that what's the one I'm trying to say? Oh, yeah. Basically, due to the fact that I've only worked so far at my new job two times at my new job, and it was mainly the first day of training, which was a week ago this past Saturday, and then the other time was a week ago tomorrow. Those were the only other times. And after that, I just had to wait. Now, the silver lining, if you want to call it that, the silver lining is basically basically my job does have me on the schedule, or does have a schedule up with my. I'll put it this way: the silver lining is I can go onto the website where my new job, seasonal or not, has a schedule you could look up to see when you're scheduled to go in. The only thing is the day is that all the days are blank. All the days are blank. There's no, 8 to 8. There's no 8 to 4:30. There's no 8 to 12:30. There's no 8 to 1. There's no 11. There's no 12 to 4:30. There's no 12 to 8:30 or anything like that. It's all completely blank. And the thing, the thing is that the thing is that on Friday they called me to come in. Now I looked at the fact that Friday would be one of the days they would probably call me in, and apparently that's what they tried to do. They tried to call me in, on Friday. They tried to call me in on Friday. And the first time I couldn't really go in because it was last minute. I told her I was still kind of in my jammies and everything. And then she's like, okay, no problem. And I told her, hey, if you want me to come in later, I could. And and then moments after she called, my mom called, because she usually calls around 10 something to check up on things during her break. And then after she calls, store manager calls back again, or store hiring manager, whatever you call back again, saying, hey, can you come in at 1? And me not realizing that the closest I have, time rise to a bus to take me there would make me a half hour late, because the bus schedule, on a regular basis, if you will, the bus schedule on a daily basis, mostly on the weekends, if you will. I'm just checking my dog there. She went back to sleep. Like I said, she's staying indoors because it's raining and it's cold. But like I said, the bus schedule on a daily basis, the one I would take, and it's mostly for a lot of them, I think, is every hour and a half or close to that. So, for example, the first bus Monday through Friday of the day, that is the first bus of the day, Monday through Friday, is at 5:45. The second bus is 7:30. The third bus is 9, so on and so forth. Well, I couldn't do that. So I tried Lyft and I tried Uber. And it looked like both of them might have been very close to successful, except one of the things that they have to work on is letting you know in advance. Letting you know in advance, I'm just adjusting the mic there so you can hear me better. But letting you know in advance, you know, what driver is coming your way. Because for some odd reason, I schedule it to show up around 12:30, 12:40, right, to get me to my job. And instead, as soon as 12:30, 12:40 comes around, that's when it starts telling me on the app, well, locating closest driver. I was like, seriously? Seriously? You're just now locating them? You couldn't locate them after I booked it? And it took a while. It was taking a while to the point that I'm like, oh, just screw it. Screw it. I'm just going to unfortunately have to let her know that I'm not going to be able to make it. Well, I call her and she's not happy. She's not happy. And she's like, oh, well, or she's something along the lines of, well, don't make promises you can't keep, that. And I apologized. And she said, okay, basically she was not happy. She said, yeah, but she was like, well, just don't make promises you can't keep anymore. And she just hangs up after that. I was like, okay, bye, and we just, hang up on each other. Well, we don't hang up on each other, but we're like, okay, bye, whatever. And she was stressed, you could tell. So what I did is I made an effort a little later on because I was contemplating it, whether or not I should do it. So I made the effort. I took the bus, the 2:30 bus, to the area, to Patterson, and I arrived there, and she had already left. She had already gone home, and basically, what I saw was the assistant manager and two other girls doing the registers. There was no one in the aisles. I don't think there was anybody in the back, but there was 3 people, and it was busy. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to work. I'm there to help out. But she says, well, let me call her. And then that being the assistant manager, she says, well, let me call when I get a chance to call the store manager, see if it's okay. And then she suggests, oh, well, you can call her too. And I'm thinking, I don't really have her number on me, Well, I do, but technically not really. I can't remember it by heart because she called me on the home phone. So anyway, long story short, I left. I tried to leave one of the bus scheduling booklets with them, but she said, no, take that with you, that being the assistant manager. And it's just, to me, it's just like, if you're going to schedule somebody, if you're going to hire somebody to work for you, for your store, if you will, if you're going to hire somebody to work for your store, then maybe, I don't know, hire them to, I don't know, be there to help out, make sure they get the hours you say you want to give them. I mean, let me ask you guys this. How would you feel? How would you feel, honestly? You're looking for work, especially during the holidays, so you can have some extra cash. How would you feel if all of a sudden the job that does hire you only brings you in once or twice for training, maybe 3 times for training, and then that's it? And then, she tells you, well, because one of the questions I asked her was, what about me being on the schedule? She says, well, I got to find a way to fit you into this week's schedule or the following week. It's like, are you serious? You've had plenty of time. And now the schedule, because she says it's every 2 weeks, it's up and it has me on there. It has my name above the schedule, this week's schedule, but there's no hours. And I'm thinking, what's going on? And it does show my availability is, 24/7. Not exactly that way, but you get the idea. But it's like, where's the payoff? Where's the opportunity, And there's none. There's no payoff. So, yeah, I made some money. Don't get me wrong. But the money I made, if you will, is you know, well, it's not enough, if you will. You know, it's not enough, and that's the thing. You know, it's it's not enough to uh, to really make a living with, because yeah, I have 100 something coming my way in addition to what I'm getting here from YouTube. So that's enough for Christmas. But still, it's like, seriously, if you're going to hire somebody, and this is the honest truth, if you're going to hire somebody, you need to make sure you have things set and ready for them. Now, look, here's the thing. I don't blame her for being angry with me because I promised something that I couldn't keep. And maybe she's somebody that doesn't like doesn't, or is not fond, I should say, of people making a promise, saying they're going to do one thing and then they have to relent on it. So I can understand her being upset about that. I do. But here's the thing. You shouldn't call somebody at the last second. You shouldn't. You shouldn't call somebody at the last second. You know why? Because if you call somebody at the last second or last minute, it throws them off. I mean, what if that person has plans? What if that person's not even there? And they're probably out Christmas shopping, or they're out enjoying themselves, maybe seeing a movie. How do you work around that? And all of this combined, folks, told me, and I mentioned this to my family, all of this tells me that basically this person, this store manager, that, she's as new to this whole, job thing, hiring thing, and all that. She's new to it just as much as I'm new to the store. I'm not new to retail or cashiering, but as much as I'm new to this company, I think she's semi-new to being a store hiring manager. I think she recently got put in that position. My opinion, I could be wrong, but I think she recently got put into that position earlier this year. I would say maybe around the summer. I'm not saying that's true or anything, but the fact that she got a little angry with me on the phone, I wouldn't say lashed out, but was just upset with me. You can't get angry with your employer or anything. You can't be sounding stressed out or anything with your employee, I should say. Not an employer, but your employee. That doesn't make you look good. What you need to do is calm down and, do what is taught to you as it's taught to us. And that's keep a demeanor and positive attitude. Don't let stressness get the best of you. And look, I'll admit it didn't help that she had a conference call that morning, but it just doesn't make you look good, especially you being in the position that you're in. So honestly, look, I don't blame her for being angry with me, but in a sense, she has to take a bit of the blame, because if it's not me she's getting angry at for basically saying, oh, well, I can't be there when I said I would be there. If it's not me, it's somebody else. And hold on a sec while I check something. And it's showing commercials. Hold on for a sec, guys. They're showing commercials. I just want to test something. And just checking something. Okay. I always want to make sure it's playing, that you can hear me on the other screens as well. But yeah, like I said, even though I do take part of the blame for calling her at the moment I was supposed to be there instead of maybe 20, 30 minutes earlier, she kind of has to take a part of the blame too, because, again, you can't call somebody at the last minute or on a, twice, that is. You can't call somebody last minute twice in a day because other people are calling out or calling in and they don't want to be there. And she should expect that when it comes to Friday scheduling. A lot of her staff, a lot of the staff that's there are young people. Not a lot, but there are some. Mostly they're young people that, they don't want to work. They don't want to work. They don't, particularly want to basically come in on the weekends and work. Now, let me take that back. I mean, there are people that want to work. I've met them. But some of them don't want to come in at times they're not scheduled to be there, or they don't want to come in on days that they feel, hey, I could have freedom. I could have a, opportunity to use this day to do whatever I want. And I think this past Friday was a nice day. And they looked at it and like, I'm not going to spend this day indoors doing a register or stocking. I'm going to go out and have fun. And it's like, why, it's like, why aren't you aware of that? Why don't you just call them up and say, look, I need you to come in. Why don't you just put your foot down and say, look, you have transportation. You could get here yourself. Others that I've hired don't have as much transportation as you do. Why don't you get on your butt, get off your butts, get into your car and get here? And don't say it in an angry, like threatening way, but just be firm about it. Be like, look, I understand you want to spend this day doing what you want, but I hired you to be here. Can you please be here? And that's it. That's it. I mean, honestly, me, if I had a license and everything, which I don't, there is no doubt I would be on my way to work. I would have been on my way to work just like that. But the thing is, I couldn't. And one, like I said, the bus schedule doesn't work out with me. The Lyft and Uber didn't work out well, and they have to work on that, in my honest opinion. And Dial a Ride, I could have tried that, but I don't know if there would have been any available. And oh, by the way, I didn't really have cash on me to do it, unless they're doing Dial a Rides for free. If they were doing Dial a Rides for free, then shoot, forget that. The point is, in the long run, what I did afterwards is I called her up. I left a message on her phone, because she called me twice from herself. That's what she did. So I called her and I said, I apologize. I said, look, I'm sorry for breaking the promise. I need to get better at keeping my promises. I appreciate and thank you for the opportunity to work with you guys. And if you do need me, just let me know. If you need me tomorrow, which was this past Saturday, or whenever, just let me know. And I humbled myself. God has always said you need to humble yourself. Humble yourself so that things. You basically just I'd have to get my Bible out to look it up, but basically, we are taught by the Lord above to humble ourselves. And that's what I did. God told me just to humble myself and apologize, because part of it was my fault. But again, part of it was also hers. And I prayed to God and I said, please, help her to, realize I didn't mean to break it. And that if she needs me to work, to let me know, and to kind of calm her down as well. I basically prayed to him and said, help things get worked out. And he has. Only he knows when it's going to be worked out for both ends. And he has done just that already. Just don't know when he's going to make that a reality. Only he does. But yeah, the thing is, I humble myself and I apologize. I apologize. She hasn't responded back. Obviously, she hasn't let me go. So that's one thing. And, it's like, basically, I just wait and see. I have to wait and see. Now, what's ironic is I've had a lot of people at my former job, because I'd be walking in there just to see how they're doing and everything, because I kind of made a promise to myself that once I get something employment-wise, I'll walk back in there, and I did. And a lot of them are like, hey, why don't you just come back here? One of the girls that I used to work with, she's like, yeah, I used to do the archery there, but the hours weren't good enough. And, I ended up back, and that's why I applied here. So I could potentially try that. My mom even said, why don't you just talk to the one girl that's now a human resource that you know of, and maybe you could get something going. And maybe I will. But we'll see what they do. I mean, I would love to go back. I mean, they know I'm very dependable. And if I explained the fact that I was let go, yes, because of something I did that I shouldn't, but I was also let go during a time of COVID, then yeah, that might work out in my favor. So we'll see what happens. But you know, it's just one of those. It's just one of these unique situations to us. Like, you're going to hire somebody, at least give them an opportunity to work. I mean, my oldest sister, mentioned that, why don't you call them and see if you can work elsewhere or any other location? Yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to really work for me, if you catch my drift. But yeah, it's just have to wait and see what they do. Just have to wait and see what they do, because I'm making somewhat of a living with this, so we'll see what that results to in the future. But yeah, it's been one of those, like I said, one of those weeks. It's been one of those weeks, and we'll just have to again see what happens. I mean, now speaking of this weekend, you know, we went to church, and as you probably saw here on the channel, and we had church service in a different location. Normally, we have church at the high school auditorium, which is going to get replaced by a new one they're putting up on the other side of the school. We were basically going there for the past few months, and then the school basically had to remove us for this past week, according to our pastor, and we ended up going to another school, and we ended up having service not in an auditorium over there, but in the cafeteria, because that was the only place we could have it. I think it kind of serves as a cafeteria auditorium, because they had a screen. They had a pull-down screen, if you know what I mean. So obviously it serves for both. But it was at the elementary school my oldest niece, I should say, once attended and stuff. So yeah, we had that, and then we just decided to come home afterwards. Oh, I actually went to the store, and since I had enough on my EBT, I bought enough groceries and stuff for a while, so we would be okay. We'd be fine with that. But yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on, guys. And I'll be honest, it's just flabbergasting, if you will, that again, if you're going to hire somebody, no matter who you are, part-time or full-time, seasonal or not, you got to make sure you have everything in order. Which again, to me, honestly, makes me believe that she basically, I'm just checking my camera, make sure it's up and everything. Okay. But again, it makes me believe, in my honest opinion, that she may have just been, put into the position of hiring and store manager very recently. I don't know when, but I know it was very recently. I can sense it. Because the assistant manager feels like she'd be more of a fit for store manager than where than the actual store manager right now. But I believe that over, and my finger just hit the mic there. I do apologize, my thumb, that is. But I believe over time that, given enough experience, she'll get the hang of it. She's probably, I think that's what these conference calls are too. I think they're to help continue her training. But we'll see what happens. And again, if this is her first, if she is new to this, man, they promoted her at a heck of a time around a very busy time. So, and hold on for a sec. Yeah, I just had to readjust the mic there a little bit. There we go. Just had a bit of an itch. I shaved when I was showering. That's why it's a little itchy. But yeah, that's what's been going on. And like I said, it's been a very interesting week, if not weekend. But let me know what your thoughts are on the live chat about that. By the way, guys, before we start, let you know super chats are open if you want to try those, to help donate there. Also, patreon.com, you want to help support me there at the $1, $3 tier. It would be great. $3 tier, you can get access to stuff you can't get anywhere else, or well, originally you could. I'm still doing that. It's just got to figure out what are the, topics to work with and all that to kind of put as Patreon exclusives. Also, you could help donate using Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2. And also you can help check me out or help me out with listener support on Anchor.fm at BW Roses Discussions. I'm close to 300. This will probably be one of the 300, one of the podcasts that goes up before my 300th one. So get ready to check those out as they happen. Also check out my Teespring store for holiday ideas and gifts if you want there. I think you'll enjoy what you find there. I'd be real appreciative of that right now. And again, check me out at BW Roses on VENMO. If you can't see any content here, you could probably find it there eventually due to copyright reasons. But now, with that said, though, guys, let's get into today's topics. And we got a whole list here, as you probably saw in the thumbnail. We have a whole list here, and you can probably look at it in the description. We have a whole list here of topics. We have 6 topics for this week as I drink some more coffee out of my last National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation mug. I got this back in April, March at Kohl's when my sister had a 60% off event. They have that like every other few months, and they still had Christmas items there, so I got this. There you go. Drinking some Pike Place Starbucks coffee out of that. But anyway, let's take a look at the topics we have here, folks. We got, like I said, we got 6 on the dock. So the first one is the first topic we're going to go on will be about the Sonic movie 2. We're going to give thoughts on that, as well as thoughts on Jeff Flower wanting to bring more characters in from outside the games. That's right, you heard me right. We're going to, again, like I said, we're going to give more thoughts on the second movie, the trailer that just came out, and the fact that Jeff Flower, the person behind it, wanting to bring in more characters from outside the games. And then what I just saw on Twitter kind of backs it up a little bit too. Second topic we're going to talk about is Ring of Honor's future after Final Battle 2021 this past Saturday. We'll get into that. Then number 3, we will talk about My Little Pony and Equestria Girls specials, those being Best Gift Ever and I think Forgotten and Roller Coaster of Friendship, leaving on New Year's Eve. That's right, New Year's Eve will be the last day they will be on Netflix. We'll talk about that. Number 4, Hasbro Comics going from IDW to Image Comics Skybound label. Could the TMNT and Sonic Comics be next? We'll get onto that. Number 5, where do the ROH Stars go from here after Final Battle 2021? We'll kind of give a thought on destinations, potentially. And number 6, should reboots based on certain animes and 80s cartoons be done by Netflix or any other streaming services? So those are the topics we're going to talk about, here on the live Topics on My Mind live stream. So, with that said, guys, let's get into topic number 1, and that topic is on the Sonic movie 2, and the fact that Jeff Flower wants to bring in more characters, in from outside the games. Now, one of the things that backs up that theory, and I'm going to pull this up, and I do apologize for any lag or anything like that, but I'm going to pull this up real quickly because I retweeted this. As well, you could probably see it a little bit here, not like OBS style or anything, but you can probably see what I'm doing here. Let's see. Okay, so we have the complete history of Sonic SatAM Twitter page at SatAM Historian, talking about. Did we know that there was a rare Sally-themed address book using her pilot design, which seems to only have a single image which has surfaced online. So there's that. And we're going to go to notifications here. Okay. Now we're going to go to profile because I did retweet some of this. Now, apparently, I saw this and I was like, really? And this was from the Sally for All Twitter page. And they said, and I quote, so at Sega, that's Sega's Twitter handle, so Sega recently acknowledged Dulcie, eh? And then they basically backed that up by showing a compilation of Dulcie and Sally in season 2 of Sonic SatAM working together, which is pretty cool. And then they also put this. They said also just in, and this is about 52 minutes ago. And this was from the Complete History of Sonic SatAM. The History of Sonic SatAM, they brought this up 2 hours ago. And this is what they said. In addition to Dulcie, SatAM is referenced in the Sonic Spinball and Sonic Chronicles sections of the Sonic Encyclopedia. Sonic Spinball obviously mentions it, as it was loosely based on Sonic SatAM, mentioning Mount Mobius, and the Vejo, the early name of the roboticizer. Okay, that's pretty cool. So we're going to look into more of this. Now, in case you guys are wondering what the complete history of Sonic SatAM is, basically Jacob Berkeley is working on a book right now that he intends to get out by next year at least to, like I said, he intends to, get out by, next year at least to, to kind of explain and go over, the history of the show and the impact that it's had, on, since it's released, and afterwards as well. So he's doing that. Now, he also mentions, he says, but in addition, a factoid mentions how the characters you rescue in the bonus stages, Sally, Bunny, Rhoda, and Mutsky, are from the SatAM series. They aren't referenced by name, but it's still neat. The show also mentioned as being called SatAM by diehard fans. He says, in addition, the series is once again mentioned in the Sonic Chronicles section, stating how the SWAT-bot enemy was directly adapted from the robots of the same name from the SatAM series. And then it mentions here, again, did you know that Dulcie actually gets mentioned in the recently released Sonic Encyclopedia? In the Sonic and the Black Knight section, Factor, everything is canon. Okay, this is what they said. In the Sonic and the Black Knight section, Factor, everything is canon. Dulcie from the Sonic animated series is said to somewhat resemble the Mist Dragon from the game color-wise. In other words, Dulcie, is referenced because the color of the dragon in Sonic and the Black Knight, is the same color as she is in the series. As a matter of fact, let's see if we can bring that up. Yep, it's brought up. It says everything is canon. It says Sonic faces down two massive dragons in Sonic and Black Knight in his quest. The Mist Dragon's colorization is remarkably similar to Dulcie the Dragon from the Sonic animated series. So there you go. And then they mentioned that the red dragon is similar to the Bio Lizard in SA2, Sonic Adventure 2. So that's pretty cool. It's really, really cool. So yeah, that's something to look forward to in 2022 when that gets released, and I can't wait to, get my hands on it eventually. But yeah, that does, like I said, kind of pack up one of the things about what was mentioned, because Jeff Flower has gone on record, and there is evidence about this too, that he wants to bring in more characters, not just of the game, not just from the game world, but from all of Sonic lore, from all of the Sonic franchises. He wants to bring in characters from the cartoons and the comics. And even though a lot of fans have debunked this and said, oh, that's not going to happen, Sega won't let that happen, others have come around and said, well, actually it could happen, because the movie has a lot more freedom than, let's say, something game-wise or, animated, tied to the game-wise and all that. It has a lot more freedom. So I wouldn't So I wouldn't say, it's not going to happen just yet. I wouldn't count my, eggs just yet, if you know what I mean. Because it is true. It is true. Jeff Flower, like I said, has gone on record. And I do apologize again for some lag or some non-connectivity issues. Let's see. Are we okay? Gotta go to my thing here. Come on. Gotta go to recent activity. Activity log, that is. If it pops up, there it is. And it takes a while. But yeah, I'm not going to deal with that. I don't want to like this. But anyway, Jeff Flower, basically, you got to take my word. In fact, let me Google it. Let me actually Google that a little bit. Let me Google it. Oh, Fowler, Jeff Fowler, not Flower, Jeff Fowler. That's my bad. I'm gonna have to do that. Let's see. Gotta find it here. Yeah, it says he wants to expand the Sonic universe. He said this back in 2020. But according to yeah, that's one thing. It says he wants to expand the Sonic universe, and this is why the Cinema Blend. He says, let's see here. It says according to this, there's so many more great characters to bring in, and just more stories to tell. Nothing would bring me more happiness than getting another shot with these characters and to tell more stories. We'd love to do more with the Sonic Cinematic Universe. In other words, that kind of tells me he wants to do more. In other words, the door is open to do more, if you know what I mean. He mentions Amy, he mentions Blaze and Shadow and everything. And there's alternate versions of Sonic to consider, which is good. So he basically, it does kind of confirm. And again, I saw this online. Matter of fact, let me get my phone so I can get an easier shot at that. Because I think my phone will be less, stressful on the computer to look up, if you know what I mean. But yeah, he's basically gone on record and said he wants to add more characters to the movie franchise in the future. He wants to do more with them. He wants to not more with them, but he wants to involve more characters, not just from the games, but from outside the games, like comics and cartoons. Like I did the video where I basically said, well, or I asked the question, who's next? After Knuckles and Tails. Like who's next on the table? Who could be, next, if you will, to be seen, in a movie and all that. It's like, who could be next? You know what I'm saying? And I mentioned the fact that we could see I basically said the most likely scenario is we could probably see. Let me see. I know it's here somewhere. That we could probably see more than likely, characters like Amy and Shadow and Rouge in the third movie, which would open the fourth movie up for whatever they wanted to bring in. So I know it's here somewhere. Is that it? Oh, here we go. It's right here. This is the article they brought up. So we're going to bring this up right now. We'll bring this up right now. Hold on. We're going to bring this up right now. And this is from the Sally for All Twitter page. It says, echoing at Ralph Asal, it looks like Jeff Fowler, not Flower, but Jeff Fowler, hinted in a Collide article that the Sonic movie series is expanding beyond the games, which is the direction to steer a film franchise in. This means Sally and the Freedom Fighters appearing in sequel/spinoff is, and they capitalized is, on the table. And I think they brought up the interview right here. Let me try to read that. Interview. And okay, this is from the Collider interview, and this is what he says, and I quote. This is Jeff Fowler, and he says this, and I quote, I will say that one of my favorite experiences from the first film is being in theaters and sort of sneaking in at the end of a screening for Tails to show up, and just seeing the reaction in the crowd. People and kids just absolutely losing their minds and yelling at the screen. So how can you not want to continually tease new additions to the world, to the Sonic movie world? And I've got a list of favorites that's a mile long. So it's great to have 30 years of Sonic games and comics and animated series and all that material to sort of pull from in order to build the world out. There's just so much opportunity to tell more stories and bring in more characters, kind of like what I read there just now. And what that tells me right there is we don't know what the end credit or one of the end credits is going to be at the end of Sonic 2. But a lot of people have speculated and theorized, the fact, and even I've said this, that if Sally shows up, that if we maybe see, Tails communicating with somebody, and then we hear like a female voice, but we don't know who it is just yet. And then all of a sudden we see this silhouette stand up and it looks very familiar. And then suddenly that silhouette steps out of the shadows and it's Sally. Like I said on a previous video I did, the roof would figuratively be blown off that theaters. That is no joke. It'll be blown off, not just by longtime fans that have been wanting that moment to happen and seeing it happen, but by fans that, theorize, oh, it's not going to happen, and all of a sudden it does. So that's what he's getting at, that we could see things like that. But if, again, as I said before, if I'm being a realist here, I see Amy and Shadow and Rouge as being the next ones going into the third film, and then the third film setting up potentially a fourth and final film, which could involve the Freedom Fighters. It would make more sense to kind of build towards that moment. It really could. It'd make more sense. But we'll see what the second movie does, how well it does. But based off how people like myself feel about the trailer, yeah, I think we're going to have another hit on our hands. There's no doubt about that. We will have another hit on our hands. But the question now the question is, will any of what Jeff wants to do, will it become, a reality? And I'm just checking something there. Okay, just want to make sure the mic is positioned correctly with me on all that as I do all this here. Hold on for a sec, guys. I have to try to keep it organized. and everything, or at least sort of in a way I can, get to. But yeah, it's again, it's one of those situations where possibilities are opened up, and with him saying that, hey, I'm willing, I want to do more, I want more to come out of this. Again, one, it does depend on the movie, which again I think is going to be a big hit, but again, like I said, if I'm being real, I think it's going to be Amy, Rouge, and Shadow next, and then we're probably going to get for the fourth movie, the Freedom Fighters. Now they could also go the Blaze and Silver route for the fourth movie too. There's no doubt, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what they do. And again, some people, they're debunking the fact that it's not going to happen. But if Jeff Fowler is saying, hey, I want to go beyond the games, I want to bring in characters and elements outside of the game and other that's seen in other Sonic lore, other spin-offs of Sonic, then I think the opportunity is out there. He even mentioned not just sequels but spin-offs. So you can't tell me that when Knuckles showing up, the thought process isn't, okay, let's do a Knuckles the Echidna spin-off, spin-off movie that is. Or, we're going to be bringing in Shadow. Maybe we could do a Shadow spin-off movie. Just saying. And it also opens up the door for the fact that what you got, not what you got, but with, hold on, let me get some coffee here. But it does open up the door that with, Sonic, with Sonic Prime coming out next year, the movies he's talking about, they don't have to be theatrical. They could be, online, streaming, on demand, DVD, 4K, Blu-ray releases, and that would work too. And you could have him somewhat a part of the team when, part of the teams of those movies and everything, not in the, not in the role he is right now behind the scenes, but sort of like I would say counseling, so like a, counselor or whatever, to be there to make sure it has that kind of a similar flavor to what the theatrical films have. I could see, spin-off movies, like I said, being, direct to video and all that, 4K and everything. And I'm just adjusting the headset here. Hold on for a sec. Got a bit of an itch there. And again, let me check everything here. All right, just trying to make sure, guys, that nothing gets messed up. But like I said, with him basically saying that, he wants to do that, I could see potential spin-offs, like non-connective movies and all that, based on other Sonic lore, happening as streaming movies, on-demand movies, direct-to-video, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K movies. I could see that happening. I could see it happening, and I wouldn't be against it, and I don't think anybody else would. Everybody wants the Freedom Fighters. I could see Sally and Bunny and all of them showing up in a movie that's a direct-to-video, direct-to-streaming type film. Excuse me. And I think it would work. I think honestly it would work, and I think people would be happy with it. I really do. But we'll have to see. What's interesting about, Jeff saying this is when you look at Paramount Plus, because Paramount is behind the distributing of these films in theaters, and basically also the studio behind the movies happening at all. But when you think about Paramount Plus, which is their streaming service, you have to look at some of the shows they got there, and some of the shows they have on there are Sonic shows. Three of the biggest ones are Adventures, Underground, and Sonic Sat AM. And if Paramount Plus is saying, hey, let's bring in these Sonic shows to be part of our streaming service, right off the bat, then I think that kind of hints at the fact that maybe, and I was just, my finger just hit the mic there. I do apologize. Just doing this. Like I said earlier, I shaved when I was showering, so kind of have a little bit of an itch here and there. But like I said, if Paramount's like, hey, let's bring in these shows to be part of our initial launch, at and them being the same overall studio business, if you will, that is distributing these movies, that does kind of hint at maybe we might see more, but we'll have to see. We will have to see in the near future. And like I said, my finger hit the mic, so I do apologize. But anyway, we'll have to see in the near future. But yeah, if Jeff Fowler is saying, hey, this is going to open up the door, for possibilities that go beyond the game characters and the game elements, I think, like anybody else, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So, bring that on. Bring it on, when the time comes. Bring it on. But as far as the movie itself goes, let's get into thoughts about it. There are some things I didn't mention when I was doing the trailer, and I just wanted to break these down a little bit. One of them that we saw in the trailer was an image of what looks like to be the floating island, or at least the temple, the main temple of the floating island. It might be the floating island itself. But what's interesting is what a lot of people pointed out, and that is when Robotnik, Jim Carrey's character Robotnik, goes into this cavern to get the Chaos Emerald and going through all these different traps and all that, obstacles, that we see a lot of owl symbols. So the question obviously is, is Longclaw alive? We see all these owl symbols, which kind of gives off the vibes that Longclaw, was a guardian of the Master Emerald power, or the Chaos Emerald's power. We could assume that. We could assume she was a guardian, in this world of Sonic. We can assume that. But we don't know. We don't know if she was a guardian or not. But with the owl symbols and everything, it does give off that vibe that her kind was, the guardians of the Emerald in that world. But you might say to yourself, well, I thought the Echidnas were. I thought the Echidnas were the guardians and all that. And here's the thing. When it comes to the Archie books, and to an extent the IDW books, and any other lore, yeah, the Echidna, like even the anime lore, the Echidnas were the main guardians. There were no doubt about that. That's no doubt about that. That's undisputable, if you will. That's undisputable that they were the original, that they were the guardians. There's no doubt. But for all we know, because remember, when we saw Longclaw, Sonic was still a baby. So, we don't know if, if she's alive. A lot of people are assuming she is. Because why would you incorporate her as a playable character, unlockable playable character in the mobile games? If she wasn't, possibly. So we know that when we saw her, Sonic was young. And a lot of people are assuming that because Sonic and Knuckles have a similar power stamina, if you will, Knuckles more than Sonic, that, both of them were raised by Longclaw. Like Knuckles was probably found by Longclaw as a baby and was raised by him. Oh, raised by her, I should say, was raised by her. And she felt, okay, you have been, and she probably gave him the history. Like, your ancestors tried to steal this from me for your power, for power and all that. But, I was waiting for, maybe she explains the history to Knuckles of, I had a young, a protege that I was going to train to be the guardian of this emerald, but I had to allow him to escape because your people were trying to take him for his power instead of using, so they could use it for whatever they wanted instead of letting him use it for good or something like that, or instead of using it for good. And maybe that's where Knuckles coming in. Maybe she found him, raised him, taught him the right ways, taught him how wrong his people were and everything for what they did. And basically, she found him to be the more. Basically, she found him to be, ready to guard the emerald, and the rest is history. For all we know. So again, a lot of people are making comparisons to the fact that we're going to have a similar kind of a Batman Superman kind of dynamic here, where there's a misunderstanding, but we know based on the history that Knuckles always gets manipulated or tricked by Eggman into doing things and fighting Sonic. So, if this is, if this is somewhat staying true to Sonic 3 to an extent in the other adaptations of it, then yeah, it's not going to be any different here as to what exactly the outcome is, because we do see in behind the scenes photos that have been put out there, we do see them standing side by side, that being Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. So we know that they're going to be, fighting alongside each other. It's just right now we need to get the fight between the two and the misunderstanding between the two out of the way, because that's basically what the original story was based around. It was originally based around. My finger just hit the mic there again. I do apologize. It's hitting the mic a lot today, isn't it? The finger, that is. But yeah, that's basically that's what the reason we got the fighting going on right now. But like I said, a lot of people point out the Owls thing, so they're assuming Longclaw could still be alive. So, she could be in hiding. Maybe Robotnik captured her or something, and then kind of trick Knuckles into thinking, oh, well, this blue hedgehog came over here and stole your emerald, and he kidnapped and killed your friend, and maybe that's what happened. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what they do, but it's going to be really interesting how he really gets portrayed here, and it looks like he's getting portrayed, the way he should be, where he's not going to trust Sonic at first. He's thinking he's the enemy, thinking Robotnik's his ally because of the lies Robotnik's telling him. So it'll be interesting to see how he's portrayed overall in the film. But yeah, that was one thing people pointed out. The other thing is we see this big old storm cloud, and we're wondering what it is. Obviously, it's powered by the Chaos Emerald, the Master Emerald. And everybody is assuming, based off this big old machine thing that we see throughout the trailer, blasting off all these rockets at Sonic and Tails, that's the Death Egg, or that's the movie equivalent of the Death Egg. And I'm not going to be surprised if it isn't. You look at the fact that it's very metal. It's very mechanic. It's got a lot of metal on it. And you can kind of see, like in one of the shots, it looks like it's going to have like a mustache on one of the sides, similar to the game. So yeah, I could see the Death Egg showing up here in this movie, but it won't be towards the end of the movie. And I could see it being a movie accurate. I wouldn't say movie accurate, but close to movie accurate version of the actual Death Egg. I could see it. I really can. I can see it. Honestly, I really can. So yeah. Overall, looking at some of those things, and then of course you look at the drones and everything he has there, and the fact that some of the drones are now in the shape of buzz bombers, or at least movie versions of them. I like that. I really like that. And everybody. One thing everybody, I'm pretty sure, has been asking, even with the first movie, is why does he have a partner? Why does he have a lackey? That being, Robotnik. Well, because here's the thing. Well, here's an answer to that. We know that in several incarnations of Sonic, he's always had some kind of lackey or lackeys to do his bidding, or he could confide in. In Adventures, he had Scratch, Grounder, and Coconuts. We know that. We know that in Underground, he had Sleet and Dingo. We know that, in Sonic X, he had those two or three robots. Boku and Oba, whatever his name was, right? Those two robots. He had them. We know that in the games, currently, he has Orbot and Qbot. We know that. As well as in the IDW comics and later on in the other comics. He has Orbot and Qbot. Those being the Archie comics, that is. And we also know, and this is why I think some of the inspiration comes for Stone being in this position as a lackey, as a confidant, is Agent Stone is the movie equivalent of Snively, but more loyal. He's more loyal than Snively. So he's the movie equivalent of Snively, but more loyal to Robotnik than let's say the second season Snively and the later on Archie Comics version of Snively was, in my opinion. That's how I see it. So that too, right there, with him being the lackey, the confidant, if you will, of Jim Carrey's Robotnik, that to me spells out inspiration from SatAM and the Archie comics as well. But overall, But overall, what I've said before in the reaction video and everything, um, I'll be honest. I'm sticking by I'm sticking by those reactions and thoughts that I've done, in other videos as well. Excuse me. I'm sticking by those. I'm sticking by those, if you will, as I check and everything to see exactly what video I did last before I did anything else. Let's see, this is okay. That was the one of the videos where I asked like who's next was before the reaction. But yeah, I stick by the what I've said in a lot of these videos, mainly about who of how I feel about it and everything. But again, I just wanted to give more thoughts on the other things that showed up in this film. And the question obviously is with guns showing up and some of the references to not just the first two, the original Sonic 2 and 3 games and Sonic and Knuckle game, if you will, but the references to like Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2, and especially with Gun being in the movie now. The question is, will Shadow be next? And again, this is where I, in the video where I basically talked about or asked the question, who's next? I said the most likely, even though we would love to see Sally be the next one to show up at the end of the movie in one of the end credits, in one of the after credit scenes, that the most likely I believe is going to be Amy, Shadow, and Rouge. Those are the ones I see that are next. But we'll see what they got. We'll see what they do. They may surprise us. They may curveball us. We don't know. But yeah, to me though, it is most likely we're going to get Shadow in the third film, if anything. So we'll see what they do. But with that said, though, those are just my thoughts. The other thoughts I've had on the Sonic movie, on some of the things I didn't touch upon, I didn't break down and do, like let's say 3C Film does, or Black Nerd Comedy Andre Meadows does. But I just wanted to give you my thoughts here live and let you know about it. So let me know what your thoughts are on the live chat right now if you want to. Ooh, on that. But also give you my thoughts on Jeff Fowler, not Flower, but Jeff Fowler's comments about the fact that he wants to expand the Sonic movie franchise to be out, from not just, game characters and elements, but to outside of it. And the fact that it is a Paramount movie, an original film production and all that. I think, and the fact that a lot of people have backed it up by saying that, hey, this has more freedom, more, leniency than, let's say, a Sega, a Sega promoted thing, basically a Sega Japan promoted thing, that there's a good chance and everything of that happening. And the fact that the Sonic Encyclopedia is now referencing SatAM, then that kind of tells you right there that, hey, there's probably a good chance we can see more things from outside of the game and other Sonic media show up. But we'll see. We shall see. All right. Next topic we have here is the Ring of Honor Wrestling's future after Final Battle 2021 this past Saturday. Now, in case you guys are out on a loom, you guys being, if anybody's a wrestling fan out there, Ring of Honor has been around since early to mid 2002. Basically, it debuted about a couple of months, very, very slightly a couple of months before TNA, now known as Impact, made its debut as NWA TNA. But yeah, Ring of Honor has been around for almost 20 years. And basically it came out in the past month or so, past few weeks, past couple months, if not the past month and a half, I should say, and made the announcement that they were going to go on hiatus after Final Battle. And that the reason for this hiatus is they have to do a restructuring, a reimagining of how they see Ring of Honor, going forward in the future, with plans to come back, during WrestleMania weekend with Supercard of Honor in April of 2022. Now, a lot of people have pretty much looked at Final Battle the way it was shown, all 4 hours, the first hour on YouTube and Facebook and all that, and then the rest on pay-per-view and Fight TV and Honor Club. They look at that, and the way it was presented it felt like it was a final show. It's like, this is it. It wasn't just end of an era as it was subtitled, but it was basically the end, it was the end of the company, period, because not a lot of people know exactly what's up the road for Ring of Honor in the near future. Nobody does. Brian Zane, who was at ringside, he came out with the rest of the locker room. Brian Zane of Wrestling with Regret. He doesn't know because he's been working for them for a while. He doesn't know what's the future of Ring of Honor. Nobody does. Nobody knows what the future is. But again, they do have plans to come back in April of 2021 with Supercard of Honor. Now, the preliminary plans, basically, from what people are being told or hearing, is that Ring of Honor is not going to be, as it currently was. That it's going to be possibly one of the restructurings for the company is it's going to be a very independent company. In other words, if it has contracts, they're not going to be like long-term contracts or anything like that. They're going to basically be very short-term contracts. Like, let's say they want to put a championship on you, then you're going to be contracted to them as their champion until they take it off you, and then you can go and do whatever you want to do. Like, you could still wrestle elsewhere while you're the champion, but as long as you have the championship, you're contracted to be at certain shows they need you to be at, and that's about it. That's the feeling I'm getting from what I understand. But yeah, basically going back to being a more, independent promotion than they were previously. And what that means is, they could bring in anybody they want, and one card will not be like the other. In other words, the Super Card of Honor could be completely different than, let's say, their summer shows that they do during the summer. Like, Super Card of Honor could have all the current champions that won titles at Final Battle or kept titles at Final Battle show up, defend, maybe drop them, and then the following card, maybe the next month or two later, will be a completely different set of men and women competing in the ring that you've never seen before, or you have seen but elsewhere. And again, that's the kind of vibe I'm getting. That, when they say they're going to go back to being more independent potentially, in the future. But we'll see what they do. We'll see what they really do. Some people are assuming that this is it for Ring of Honor. Like, even though the preliminary planning to come back in April, that this could be it anyway. Like, those preliminary plans, they could plan that, they can continue planning all they want, that basically those could come to an end, and then the company's just done. A lot of people make the comparison to ECW. A lot of people thought that after Guilty as Charged 2001, ECW would still be okay. Like, maybe it might take a hiatus or something like that and then come back. Same with WCW. WCW did Greed. A lot of people thought after Greed, they would take a hiatus, come back with the big bang. But in the end, all those companies went down the toilet. Or both those companies went down the toilet, and that was it. There was no future whatsoever for them. There was no future whatsoever. So a lot of people are making strong comparisons to the fact that even though Ring of Honor and Sinclair, they're making plans, preliminary plans to get back on their feet with a restructuring or reimagining, for Ring of Honor to return in April of 2022. A lot of people are assuming, even those in Ring of Honor, even those in the wrestling business, are assuming that this is it. This is it. This is the end of Ring of Honor, period. Even though they could have people like the new ROH champion, Jonathan Gresham, they can have the new ROH tag champions in the Briscoes, 12 times champions now. They can have the new television champion, Rhett Titus. They can have the current pure champion in Josh Woods. Even though people are coming out and saying all these men and women, even Rock C, that's ROK-C, even though they're saying that, even though, a lot of them are champions, and pretty much the assumption, if not legitimate assumption and belief, is Ring of Honor is going to allow them to go and defend these titles elsewhere, especially with the fact that you have Deonna Purrazzo coming out and confronting Rock-C, after her match with Willow Nightingale, and saying, hey, I want to face you in a winner-take-all match after Hard to Kill, after she proclaims she's going to become a champion against Mickie James, winner-take-all, which means all the belts, I guess, on the line, and Roxy, accepting, that kind of gives you an idea that we're going to have that championship defended eventually, maybe in the new year after Hard to Kill on Impact Television, which means Roxy is Impact bound for the Knockouts division. The same with the Briscoes. The Briscoes, after they won the belts, they called it any tag team to face them. Lights went out. Lights came back on. You heard the music, and there they were. There was FTR. Dash Hartwood and Cash Wheeler, and they fought, they brawled, and that basically gives off the vibe that the Briscoes are going to come to AEW, defend the Ring of Honor tag titles there against FTR, and maybe put over FTR as being the only tag team to win win all these championships in some of these major promotions from WWE, AAA, AEW, and now Ring of Honor. And hello to Sir John. Sir John, how are you doing? Yeah, if you want to share the joke, go ahead. Let the others in the audience, coming in later as well as probably watching in the later after the live stream is over in the comment section to see it. If you want to do that, it's up to you. Just make sure it's not offensive. But anyway, though, what's the word I'm looking for? What was I going to try to say? Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a funny one. That's kind of funny. Cool. And I'm sure everybody else will get the joke too, but that's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Thank you for sharing. That's just, just sharing that little joke there. But anyway, like I said, they could position it to where the Briscoes put over FTR, and FTR becomes the only tag team to win WWE, AAA, AEW, and Ring of Honor Gold. The only one they would be missing would be the Impact titles, but they don't have no. AEW doesn't have a partnership with Impact right now, but I'm guessing after Final Battle that might be something that changes again. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. But yeah, you have all these current champions, if you will, that were crowned or retained at Final Battle that now have the opportunity to go elsewhere and defend their titles. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what the future does hold for Ring of Honor Wrestling. Again, to me, a lot of people are saying that this are believing and assuming this is it. Like there is no opportunity for them to make a comeback, and that they see vibes, similar, or not vibes, but they see, things very similar to what happened with WCW and even ECW. And you can't blame anybody, as fans and those within ROH, as well as, inside people in the business feeling that way, because it does give off those kind of vibes. It does give off that kind of similar, very familiar feeling. But hopefully we're wrong. Hopefully we're wrong, and things change. Hopefully things change in the future and for the better when it comes to Ring of Honor Wrestling. And whatever they come back as next year in April of 2022 for Supercard of Honor, it's going to be interesting. Like a lot of people, like some of the preliminary plans coming out there from what people are saying and hearing, is they're going to be very independent. They're going to go back to the independent roots. In other words, like I said, one card like Supercard of Honor could be completely different from a card that you see a month or two later in the late spring, early summer. And it could, and basically, like I said, by being completely different, it could have a completely different roster of people. Maybe that's what they're leaning towards. And honestly, I think the reason they want to do this is so that even if they have to do short-term contracts with people, mostly if they're the champ, if they decide, hey, we're going to book you as the champion, and here's a short-term contract you got to agree to if you're going to be our champion. Mostly the reason I think they're doing this too is so that they can not only start off kind of refreshed and rebooted and all that, or softly rebooted, softly retcon in this case, but by doing so, it'll help them kind of rebuild themselves. Well, that's kind of cool that you bought the NBA for PlayStation. He's just telling me what he bought. But anyway, that's funny. Honey had to beat. He had to well, you guys can read it in the live chat. I've enabled a live chat replay, so you guys can read that if you don't watch live right now. But anyway, like I said, basically, what was I trying to say? Oh yeah, basically that them. The reason I think they're doing this is so that not only can they start off refreshed and rebooted or softly rebooted, and all that in this case, but I see them doing this so that way, as time goes on, they can also rebuild and have a better structuring, if you will, of what their outlet wants to be in the future. Like, once they get back to that position of, okay, we're financially stable, we got things back in order, that they'll be able to move forward again and be what they were previously, if not a lot better. That's why I think they're doing this restructuring, and why some of the preliminary plans, according to what people are saying, is they're going to go kind of back to the original roots, start very independent, like do short-term contracts, especially those that are going to be champions, and then go from there to, like I said, well, one card potentially is going to be different than the other, and that's mostly by roster and people involved. So I could see that being, I could see basically being, I should say, the reason that they're going this route, so that when they figure out kind of, where they want to be, they'll be able to move forward and be better than what they were before. So that's what hopefully that's where they're going with this in the future. Hopefully that's where they're going with this in the future. But we'll see what they do. We'll see what happens. But again, some people are speculating that the future is not going to be a bright one, that this is it. But if what people are saying is going to be believed, then, like I said, the preliminary ideas is for them to go back to the roots, be very independent, a very independent promotion, and then I think kind of build themselves back up to where once they have that right focus of, okay, this is where we want to go with it, then they'll be off to the races and kind of be back to trying to be the Ring of Honor that they were in the past, but a lot better. Basically learn from the lessons, if you will. But we'll see what occurs. Hopefully it's not another WCW or ECW situation. All right, third topic on the table here. Third topic is My Little Pony and Equestria Girl specials leaving Netflix on New Year's Eve, I should say. New Year's Eve. So, in case you guys are wondering which those are, and I've talked about this already, the specials that are leaving Netflix on New Year's Eve, or at least the last day is New Year's Eve on Netflix. The specials that are leaving are Best Gift Ever, Forgotten Friendship, and I believe Roller Coaster of Friendship. Now, these are very good specials in a sense, I should say. Roller Coaster of Friendship basically evolves around Applejack and Rarity's friendship, and how close they are with each other, and how something can get between them. It also kind of implied, as far as Equestria Girls, that their friendship is probably the only main, besides Lyra and Bonbon, as well as some other ones that they've hinted at, as well, that their friendship is the only one, main 7-wise, or humane 7-wise, as they call it, that's LGBTQ. Like, in other words, their friendship is a lot more significant than just an ordinary, BFF deal. So that's why, Roller Coaster of Friendship is, looked upon very fondly. And then Forgotten Friendship is, looked at as being very significant because you do get an applicable, easy for me to say, applicable amount of time with Sunset going back to Equestria Prime, as I call it, and being a pony again, reuniting with, Celestia, and everything, kind of putting the past behind them. So you get a significant amount of time with her there. And then, of course, best gift ever is, as far as we know, the final heartwarming / Christmas Eve story Christmas story, I should say, that they did. And it's basically focused around the characters, the main six, if you will, doing a Secret Santa, or main seven, if you will, doing a Secret Santa, which Applejack calls a heartwarming helper. And it's very cute and very adorable because it focuses on all these different, aspects of how the ponies are trying to get each other presents and all that for their secret pony. And of course, for any Spike and Rarity fans like myself, the ending is, kind of cute and everything, and kind of basically signifies the fact that Sparity is kind of semi-officialized, at the end of that, if you catch my drift, especially with Spike's song to Rarity. So yeah, these specials basically though are scheduled to leave Netflix on New Year's Eve. Now, here's the thing: there are some people that are not happy about this. They don't want them to see them leave Netflix because, they don't know where they're going to end up. My speculation is because of the fact that NBC promoted with Hasbro their new generation line of MLP, that Peacock might be the destination for some of these in the future, because that's where the movie is right now. The 2017 movie is. So I would assume that's where they're going to end up in the near future, or they're going to end up on Hulu with, season 9 of the series. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think, like I said before, I don't think they're going to be gone for long. I think they might show back up a lot sooner than later. I really do. I think, honestly, like I said, I think for Roller Coaster of Friendship, I could see in the spring, Forgotten in the summer, and then, of course, Best Gift Ever at Christmas. I could see them making a return. I think they just want to get them out of there right now so they can make room for other stuff and everything, as well as work out some new deals of how they're going to present them. Because I think with Best Gift Ever, having that there year-round, that kind of is like, why would you have a Christmas special year-round? I don't get it. It's kind of like with Christmas Chronicles. Why have that movie year-round? You know what I'm saying? So I think we're going to see them come back. It's just going to be more sporadically, like more on a quarterly basis, yearly. Like maybe be there be there for maybe 4 months and then disappear again. Who knows? But yeah, apparently they're leaving Netflix, and like I said, some fans are a little disappointed by that, but some are okay with it, because some fans figure, hey, I got it on DVD, I got it on my computer, I got it on my external drive, or I've captured it, stuff like that. So they're cool with it. They're cool with them kind of leaving right at the moment because they already have ways of watching it. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what the future holds for them for those specials. But like I said, I truly think these specials are probably going to make a return, on Netflix, but in a different way, especially as we get close to the G5 series and its numerous specials coming out next year. I think that's when you're going to see a lot of these 3 specials, if not more, show up as well. So you can definitely have Netflix get behind, the whole pony train, if you will, and say, hey, we're backing them up to the extreme by bringing these back. So I think that's another reason too that we're seeing them leave, so that way they can give them time away and then bring them back when the time is right. Like when they do the G5 Christmas heartwarming special that they have planned, then I could see them bringing back Best Gift Ever to coincide with that, and then some of the other stuff as well. In 2022, I could see them showing up down the line. I really could. But yeah, they are leaving Netflix, and again, I think they will be back. But then again, they could end up somewhere else. But we'll see what they do. We'll see what happens. But yeah, give me your thoughts on that. Again, I don't think they're going to be gone from Netflix forever, but if they are going someplace else, like I said, I think the most likely, because the movie's there and everything, we saw the promotional stuff with NBC doing the during the Rockefeller Square's Christmas tree lighting and Thanksgiving. I think we're probably going to there's a good chance, I should say, they might go to Peacock. We'll see what happens. All right, next up, number 4, our fourth topic here. Our fourth topic, Hasbro Comics going from IDW to Image Comics Skybound label. Could the TMNT and Sonic Comics be next? Now, I've talked about this briefly, but more detail has come out that it seems Hasbro, according to Clownfish TV and others, is not too thrilled with what's going on with IDW and their publishing of the comics based on the licenses. So it looks like that they are going to be pulling, if not already in the process of pulling the license from IDW and shopping it around to other publications. And the number one publication or company that seems to be in the running to get them is Image Comics, but mostly for the Skybound label. Because just like with other comic book publishers out there, they have different divisions, labels underneath them, if you will. It's not just always Marvel or DC. It could be, Wildstorm. It could be Star. It could be whatever, But they're still under the Marvel or DC, banner, but the being published under a different label. If you catch my drift, kind of like let's say, Blue Sky Studios and 20th Century Studios. They're Disney companies, but they could still distribute movies, under those labels, those divisions. And that's basically what's going on here. It looks like Hasbro, the leading contender to buy the licensing rights, publishing licensing rights, comic book wise, for the Hasbro comics is the Skybound label of Image Comics. Now, Skybound is mostly known for the Walking Dead comics and several others, and it looks like Transformers, G.I. Joe, Gem, My Little Pony. It looks like they could all be Image Comics Skybound comics bound. Looks like they could be Skybound. They could be Skybound bound, if you will, under the Image Comics roof of the house, if you will. In other words, they could be moving from the IDW home to living under the Image Comics home, if you know what I mean, or transferring from the fraternities in the dome in the what's the word I'm looking for? Not domes. What's the call? I can't even think of the word right now. The college. What are those apartment like things are known? The dromes or whatever they are. The college apartments, if you will. It's like they're going from the college apartments, transferring there to the college apartments of somewhere else. That's what it is. That's what it is. But anyway, it's like basically they're moving from one home to another, one location to another. And Image Comics, mostly for the Skybound label, is in the front running to potentially get them. And if that's the case, will they be rebooted again? Will they be darker? Will they be the same as we see in IDW? It's hard to say. I mean, Hasbro has not been, according to some reports, has not been happy with them, especially, let's say, with their crossovers with other, licensed products or licensed, characters that are not Hasbro-wise. I guess they weren't happy with them with the Revolution story. I don't really know. So we'll see what happens as time goes on. But it looks like the Hasbro comics are moving out of the IDW dorms. That's what it is, dorms. The IDW dorms and into the dorms of the Image Comics facilities, if you know what I mean. Mostly the Skybound apartments, the Skybound dorms, if you will. That's where they're heading. That's where they're heading to, from the Skybound, from the Image dorms, from the IDW dorms to the Image Comics University in the Skybound dorms. That's where they're heading in. Hello, Crystal Star Productions. Yeah, and if you're looking for season 9 of it, it's on Hulu. She's telling me that season 9 is yet to be on Netflix. Well, it's on Hulu right now. That's the thing. But anyway, getting back on topic, that's what seems to be happening. And again, we don't know if they're going to be rebooted. Probably more than likely. Are they going to be darker, grittier, lighter? Are they going to remain the same way as they are as they were and / were the IDW license? Who knows? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what the directive is. Once they move from IDW to Image and mostly under the Image Skybound label. But now the question obviously is the TMNT comics and Sonic next? Now, like I said in a previous video, I don't think we have to worry about these just yet. I mean, even Clownfish TV, Neon, who's mostly the comic book, I wouldn't say guru, but the comic book, the comic book speaker, if you will, of the channel, because he's actually worked for IDW. He's done work for them and everything. He's known people over there. So he's had a foot in the industry. According to him, if IDW loses the TMNT license, then yeah, that's a tall tale sign that they're pretty much done. He even feels that IDW won't be around in the next couple of years. And that might be the case. We don't know. That might be the case. We don't really. So I'm trying to get the mouse activated there. Okay. But yeah, we don't really know. We don't know what the future is going to hold or anything for IDW Comics. I mean, one of the things that I got from It's Frank Hill is this game. It's this board game, and you can see it in the package opening video I did recently. And it's released and distributed by IDW. They're trying to dip themselves into different medias, if you will, to generate revenue, to generate financial revenue. But according to sources, that everybody's reading and reading off of and everything, whether you believe them or you don't, despite their best efforts, the financialness is the generating, if you will, of these other financial revenues is not it's not really helping them out in any short-term or manner, if you catch my drift. And yes, just in case you're curious, was it Taki Darth Hammer? Yes, Ian Flynn is still writing Sonic. He's writing the IDW Sonic, and he's writing for Sonic Frontiers. He wrote the story basically for Sonic Frontiers. So yeah, he did that. I didn't even know about that until I read people were reading off the synopsis and giving out more information. But getting back on topic here, and this does kind of concern him. So, to an extent, because basically, like I said, IDW is doing everything they can to gain financial revenue. But according to what Neon has talked about, because again, he worked for them, and he's and he knew people there, and he's going off sources close to the situation. IDW has been hemorrhaging. Money. So by hemorrhaging money, they've basically been, hurting themselves. Okay, no problem, Crystal Star. She was just telling me something. She said she knew it was on Hulu. She's saying it's feels, awkward and out of place. And you say get 8 seasons of LP on Netflix, but no season 9. Yeah, I know it did feel awkward to a lot of us when that happened, but it's all about mostly licensing and who's paying out the most, if you know what I mean. But again, getting back on topic, like I said, getting back on topic. What was I? Oh yeah, Neon was saying that they've been hemorrhaging money. So by doing all these other, by basically putting their feet in all these other avenues, if you will, of media, in these other avenues of media, that they're trying to financially garner some revenue to keep them afloat. But he feels that that's not enough, and that sooner or later it's going to catch up to them, and they're going to be pretty much done by maybe 2023 at most. He didn't say 2023, but he basically said within the next few years he could see them basically being out the door, and that was just a message I got from Frank Hill. Speak his name and he shows up. Speak his name and he shows up. And he shows up and he did it again. But yeah, if you hear any doo-doo, that's just the message thing going off and everything. But anyway, like I said, and he's just, again, he's sending some messages. I do apologize. But anyway, like I said, basically, he feels they're not going to be around the next couple of years. He didn't, like I said, didn't specifically say what year, but when someone says, hey, I don't think this place is going to be around, or this company is going to be around in the next several years, you're looking at someone coming out and saying, not specifically a date, but you kind of get an idea of them saying, yeah, I don't see them being around by 2023 or 2024. And that's what he's looking at, possibly. Again, he worked for them. He, had people that worked, he worked with. He saw the kind of the problems there at times, like, he would get paid, but not in the way and manner he was hoping, like on time or anything, but he would still get paid. But he would see some of the things going on there. So, yeah, he feels basically that right now they're doing what they can. They're doing anything possible to try to keep themselves afloat, but that sooner or later it's going to catch up with them and they're going to be gone. Now, the question is who probably buys them out and absorbs them into the company is another thing. My honest opinion, I think Archie's going to be the one that does it. And some people might say that's not going to work because Archie's kind of in the same boat, aren't they? Archie's in a much better position. Honestly, Archie Comics is in a much better position, a much better place financially than IDW is, according to anybody you might ask. So I would assume that if they do get absorbed, it won't be by Marvel, it won't be by DC, it won't be by Image, it'll be by Archie. That's my assumption. I could be wrong. But that's why I think we'll be buying them out if what Neon and others are speculating and theorizing could be a reality. But yeah, basically because of this, this speculation, this belief, if you will, these theories, they feel that IDW is not going to be around for much longer. And with them losing the Hasbro license from to Image Comics, mostly for Image Comics' Skybound label, that's basically like a punch in the gut. That's not like the nail in the coffin, but that's like a massive punch to the gut to the point that, ooh, it's like whenever you get kicked in the gut, or if you're a man, you get kicked in the wheres, it doubles you down. It causes you to wither in pain. It causes you to lose breath a little bit, especially if that punch is really hard or that kick's really hard. It's basically like that. It's like a kick in the what, or a solid, take the wind out of you, punch to the gut. And, again, it's not a nail in the coffin or anything for IDW, but it's mostly at that point to where if they don't do something to get themselves back on top or back into a stable position financially, what people are speculating and theorizing potentially could happen. And that potentially could happen, as I said in one video, if they lose some of these other licenses. And like I said in that one video, I don't think we have to worry just yet. But if IDW was to lose the TMNT license, mostly the Nickelodeon licenses for comics, not just TMNT, but the Loud House, SpongeBob, and a few others, many others, I should say, Danny Phantom, I think. If they lose, Legend of Korra, I think Avatar, if they lose those, along with the TMNT license, then yeah, that will be not just a punch to the gut again, that where you lose your breath, or a kick to the what's that doubles you down in pain. But that'll be like a stab in the chest, not enough to kill you, but enough to basically send you to the hospital and have you remain basically in the hospital for a couple of days to heal up properly before they let you go. That's what it'll be like. It'll be like a stab to the chest or stabbed to to the chest or whatever, not fatally, but enough to put you in the hospital for maybe a week, maybe a month before you're let out. That's what it will be like if they lose the TMNT license. And then if they lose the TMNT license, then, as I said in the other video, that's why I would worry about losing the Sonic license, because, if Sega of America, Sega of Japan, mostly Sega of America, I think and believe are the ones behind this as well. But, behind the partnership with IDW, if I'm Sega overall, and I'm seeing this, I was like, okay, I don't have to worry or anything. They still have the TMNT licenses and all these other licenses, they're fine. But if I see them suddenly lose, or I start suddenly hearing, rumblings of, hey, they might lose the Nickelodeon licenses, most of the TMNT license. If I'm Sega, I'm like, man, what do I do now? If they're going to lose them, basically I'd be considering, I'd be reconsidering my options. Like, should I stay here or should I go elsewhere? Like I said in the other video, if they lose the TMNT license, that will be, along with the other Nickelodeon licenses, that will be a wake-up call. That will be a wake-up call. Okay, they lost, not only the Disney licenses, they lost not only the Hasbro licenses, but now they've lost the Nickelodeon licenses, as well as the TMNT license, most of all. Why am I even here? Why should I be part of this? I'm going to get out of here before the whole freaking building comes down. Before this company gets a nail in, a fatal nail to the chest and a nail on the coffin, or that final nail on the coffin. That's what I would do if I'm Sega. Then if I start seeing that happen, if I start seeing the TMNT license be, rumblings about it going somewhere else, along with the other Nickelodeon licenses, then if I'm those at Sega that are responsible for making this happen, I'm like, okay, I need to go elsewhere. I need to reconsider my options, because I'm not going to be here when the final nail on IDW's coffin gets, sealed shut or nailed down shut. I'm not going to be here when that final stab through the heart, takes him to the comics heavens above, or to comic book heaven, above. I'm not going to be here for that. I want to survive. I want to still make money off the comic book stories of this. Of my main mascot. And the thing is, IDW has to hope none of this happens. Because if it does, if the next person that comes out or the next company that comes out that's licensing their properties for comic book publication through them says, hey, we want to go elsewhere, and that being Nickelodeon, like I said, and it involves TMNT, then yeah. If I'm Sega, I'd basically throw it up and be like, okay, where else do I go? I'm going to look elsewhere, because I'm not going to be here when this Titanic ship, if you will, of a comic book company, publishing company, comes sinking down into the ocean. And I say that with all due respect, no offense. But basically, that's what it is. It's like that term some people have used when it comes to reporting this kind of stuff. It's like people are on a sinking ship. They're on a Titanic that's heading towards an iceberg, and there's no getting away from it. And hopefully that doesn't happen, though. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But could TMNT and Sonic be next? Yeah, there's a good possibility they are. But like I said, earlier, and I said in a previous video, I don't think we have to worry too much about that right now, because, again, like Neon said, if they lose the TMNT series license, if they lose that, then that is definitely, a red flag of concern. That's a red flag you got to put up and be like, okay, maybe we need to start looking elsewhere. And whoever they go to will be probably either a saving grace, or it may not be. Who knows? But it's up to them. It's going to be up to them in the future, that being IDW, whether or not they lose these licenses along with the ones they're losing already to somebody else. It's up to them. And again, if it does get to that point to where they'll probably have to sell off the company, I believe Archie Comics is going to be the one that buys them out. I believe they'll be the ones that buy them out because, one, it gives them more content to have under their under their roof, as well as maybe it opens up the door for the TMNT license and for the Nickelodeon licenses, and even for Sonic to come back to Archie. Well, at least TMNT and Sonic would be coming back to Archie, but for the Nickelodeon licenses to find a new home under Archie as well. So that potentially could be, what the future holds for them. But it's up to IDW whether or not they want to stay afloat or they want to sink. Because, them losing Transformers, G.I. Joe, potentially Jem and My Little Pony and Micronauts and ROM and all of them to Image Comics, and Image Comics' Skybound label, for them to lose that is, like I said, a kick in the you-know-whats and a major punch to the gut that wins you. That is, that does hurt. That does hurt in a big way. But not in a way to where you have to worry just yet. Because, again, if they lose the TMNT and the Nickelodeon licenses, that'll be like a stab right to the chest or right to the gut, to where you're hospitalized for the next month or so before they let you go. And you don't want that. You don't want that. So right now, like I said in the previous video, I don't think they have to worry about anything. But if I'm IDW and I want to make sure history doesn't repeat itself for a third time, and possibly a third to majorly fatal time, then I basically do what I can to rectify the issues. I do what I can to make sure I don't go through that again. That's what I do. But yeah. Right now it looks like Image Comics, mostly for the Skybound label, is the leading candidate to purchase the publishing licenses, comic book wise, for the Hasbro comics to move from IDW over to them. That's what it looks like right now. Yeah, that is true, Crystal Star. That if Archie was to be the ones to buy out IDW, if that potentially happens, and I talked about this before, I think in the last video, they could end up bringing back the Freedom Fighters. That's like they could look at where they stopped and be like, okay, let's just resume, end of story. And they can find a way to incorporate Tangle and Whisper into that world as well. They could. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, that's what's going on right there. And hopefully IDW can get themselves, out of the situation they are right now, according to several reports out there. And, hopefully 2022 will start off better than the way 2021 in the past couple of years have been, treating them, financially and all that. So, so IDW, hope you get better in the future. All right, number five. Where do the ROH Star, Ring of Honor Stars, go from here after Final Battle 2021? Well, I kind of talked about this in the second topic where I discussed the future of, Ring of Honor and what's going to happen to it, down the line. I think that was the second one. Yeah, it was down the line. But now the question is, where do a lot of these stars end up? Well, based off what we saw at Final Battle, we kind of got an idea of exactly where some of these men and women may end up. We know Jay Lethal is already an AEW guy. He wasn't originally going to be. Jay Lethal basically said he was not going to be at Final Battle because he was now part of All Elite. But because Bandito had to pull out because he tested a second time for COVID and had to vacate the Ring of Honor title, Tony Khan set it up to where it's like, okay, what better way for this era, this chapter of Ring of Honor to go out than with, basically two guys that were part of one of the more successful factions you've had in the Foundation, battling out for the vacant world title. So there you go. But anyway, what does the future hold for these people? Well, like I said, I think we kind of got a clue as to what's going to happen. A lot of people are assuming that Jonathan Gresham, who is the new and for right now final Ring of Honor champion of the current era, a lot of people are assuming he's All Elite bound, and he probably is. I think he's going to be All Elite bound, and I think one of the things Ring of Honor is going to allow them to do, mostly Sinclair is going to allow them to do, because Tony Khan went out of his way to help out, which he didn't have to. I think what they're going to do is they're going to allow the Ring of Honor champions they currently have to defend the titles. I think they're going to let them defend the championships on AEW television at independent shows. And then if they do end up dropping them, then that person they drop to, let's say that person is still champion by the time the relaunch or the soft relaunch happens, potentially in April of next year, that person will be brought in to defend the title against whoever they're going to defend against, is my assumption. But yeah, a lot of people are thinking that Jonathan Gresham is AEW bound, and I do agree with that, especially if you want to continue something with him and Jay Lethal. I think that's a good potential place for him to go. He might even go to MLW to defend it. We'll see. The Briscoes, no doubt, are AEW bound because they were backstage in an AEW event recently, and with FTR showing up and everything here, it kind of tells me that they are going to be AEW bound. My finger just hit the mic again. My finger's been hitting the mic a lot here in this live stream, hasn't it? But yeah, the Briscoes definitely are going to be AEW bound, and they're going to be defending the Ring of Honor titles there, maybe to either put over FTR or not. But I can see a title for title match probably on AEW in correlation with not just Ring of Honor, but with AAA for both the AAA and the Ring of Honor tag team titles. I could see that. I can see that happening, so that'll be interesting when it happens. But yeah, the Briscoes are definitely AEW bound. Roxy, that's ROK-C, Roxy. I could see her being Impact bound because if you have Deonna Purrazzo, like I said earlier, coming out and challenging her to winner take all after Hard to Kill next month, I could see Roxy being part of the Knockouts division, and maybe as a way to maybe keep up her momentum and say, hey, she is the future of not just our division now, but the future of all women's wrestling. I mean, she's like 19, 20 years old. She's got a long career ahead of her if she chooses this profession as a living for quite some time. But I could see Impact Wrestling putting all their eggs into the basket for Rock-C and her winning the Knockouts title if Deonna Purrazzo beats Mickie James for the title. And just got a delayed message from Microsoft Edge. One thing that Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome do is that they let you know when somebody's notified you and all that, and then they do it on the delay, if you will. Well, Microsoft Edge does it anyway. But yeah, I could see Rock-C probably being given the Impact Knockouts title along with the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship and keeping the Ring of Honor title. And there you go. I think basically, like I said, I think Impact's she's gonna be a great addition to the Knockouts division. And if they did, and again, she's got a lot of years ahead of her. She's like 20 years old. That's a long career. Again, like I said, if she chooses to keep this profession up, that's a long career ahead of her. So I could see her basically, becoming, an undisputed champion starting next year. I could see that. If, like I said, if Deonna goes over Mickie at Hard to Kill, I could see that happening. So. Okay, so that's something to look forward to if you are a Rock-C, ROK-C fan. I could see that happening. And again, it definitely proves that she's Impact bound. And probably will be the future of that Knockouts division if they treat her right and they sign her to a decent contract. That's my honest belief. As far as Josh Woods goes, Josh Woods is the pure champion. He showed up. He made an appearance. I don't know if he won or lost, but he made an appearance on AEW Dark. So that definitely tells me Josh Woods is AEW bound. And I can see him bringing the pure championship over to AEW and maybe even rechristening it the AEW pure championship and kind of bringing that pure, unique, that kind of like that unique pure style that Ring of Honor was known for when it came to the pure championship matches into All Elite Wrestling. That's helping to differentiate, AEW more so than they are right now, truly make them more of an alternative than what they are now. So I could see him doing that. So I see Woods being, like I said, AEW bound. Red Titus is the television champion, and I could see Red Titus being Impact bound. I really could. I could see Red Titus, and I could see Tracy Williams being Impact bound. See both of them being Impact bound, and I could see him being Impact bound as a tag team. And I could see Red Titus coming in as the Ring of Honor television champion, and maybe, just maybe, like Josh was christening it, the Impact Television Championship. I could see that. I can honestly see that, but we'll see what happens. But I do believe either way, Red Titus and Tracy Williams are, Impact bound. There's no doubt in my opinion. Who else do I see? Flip Gordon. I could definitely see being on the radar of WWE. Now, I know you're thinking, there's no way they're going to sign him. He's an independent guy. Really? You take one look at his resume outside of wrestling, and you don't think WWE will make an exception and be like, bring him into NXT? Because they will. They'll see it, that resume, and they'll be like, Flip Gordon, come to WWE, come to NXT 2.0. We'll push you to the moon. All because he has that military background. Guarantee it. Well, I'm not going to guarantee it, but I am more, if I was to lean into a direction as to where he'll go, I'm leaning more towards WWE and NXT 2.0 than anywhere else. All because WWE is going to want that sweet publicity. They're going to want that. Guaranteed. Now, who else? The Allure. Angelina Love and Mandy Lauren. I can see the Allure being NWA bound. I can. I know I haven't brought them up yet, but that's what I think they're going to be. I think they'll be NWA bound. I mean, they could go back. I could see Angelina going back to Impact and being Mandy Lauren over with her. I could see that. Thus, it would give more tag teams to that Knockouts tag team division. But I don't think so. I think honestly, the NWA bound. Well, they'll mostly be NWA bound, but I wouldn't be surprised if they cross over to Impact. But I can see them going to NWA to challenge the Hex for the NWA Women's Tag Team titles. That's what I see. There. So I can see the Allure going to the NWA and challenging for the NWA Women's Tag Team titles. And, here's the thing. Everybody, when the Allure debuted, and I have it on DVD because I recorded this damn show, but when the Allure debuted at the Ring of Honor New Japan show in Madison Square Garden, the first thing that I remember Ian Riccaboni saying and coming out and stating, if you will, coming out saying and stating was the Allure wasn't what Ring of Honor was about. The Allure is not what the Ring of Honor women's division is about. Basically coming out and saying these women are divas. They are WWE-like divas that are not true wrestlers, even though they are, but are more about beauty and glamour and all that. So, and then, of course, you add in Mandy in there, and it's like, you had a recipe for something that was anti-Ring of Honor, that really was anti-Ring of Honor, Women of Honor. Basically, what's the one I'm trying to? You had a recipe for something that was a success, and it was in Ring of Honor as anti-Ring of Honor, Women of Honor talent. So I could see them showing up in the NWA and being everything that the NWA and the NWA Women's Division is not about, and them getting massive heel heat for that. I could see that happening. Now, could they end up in WWE? Oh, absolutely. Vince McMahon will take one look at Mandy Lorraine, and Angelina Love and be like, you know what? I don't care if they're, in the 30s or anything like that. I'll take them. It'll be based off the beauty. He'll take them, bring them into NXT, have the Allure be there, and then maybe quickly go like, okay, the Allure did their job. But Vince, they didn't win the they didn't win the NWA, they didn't win the NXT women's tag titles. I don't care. That's SmackDown. Oh, the viewership will go up. Hubba, hubba, hubba. I know that was a dumb parody right there, but that's how a lot of people perceive Vince and Dunn and Pritchard. Like, ooh, let them have time in NXT, but only a short time. Bring them up to the main roster afterwards. Ooh, all because of the looks. And I say that with all due respect, no offense. But yeah, that's pretty much, that pretty much could be what happens. That could be that destination too, but more than likely I see them being NWA bound in the future and being mostly the top challengers for the NWA women's tag team titles. Now, like I said, could they end up back in Impact? Mostly Angelina Love bringing Mandy with her? Oh yeah. And they'd be top contenders right off the bat for the knockout tag team titles. I mean, imagine them against the Inspiration, formerly the Iconics. Woo! To quote Alex, that is not just a match of beauty. That is a match of the present versus the past. Well, that's just, well, you get the idea. You catch what I'm saying. That's basically the battle of the two more egocentric teams in wrestling. Like, who's more egocentric? Is it the Inspiration or is it the Allure? So I can see them, like I said, more than likely than WWE. I can see them being NWA and potentially Impact bound. Who else? Willow Nightingale. I think she's going to be fine where she is right now. She's going to probably be more focused in MLW. I think she's going to be more of a focus of MLW's talent there. So I can see that. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Willow goes to NWA Impact. Honestly, I could see Willow Nightingale. If Willow, you're watching this, and I'll put it to where you can find it. I think Willow is going to do great things in MLW, but I think honestly the next is, with Ring of Honor being on hiatus, I can see Willow Nightingale possibly being in Impact. I could see her being in Impact and doing good there. And imagine her challenging Jordynne Grace for the digital media title. That would be something. The OGK, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis, those two or those three, it's hard to decide. I mean, I could see them fitting in well in the tag team division of Impact. I could see that. I could see them challenging the Good Brothers. And that would be a great matchup. And I could see them on the first night winning the belt because, hey, you have Maria Kanellis in your corner. Storyline-wise, you could distract, Carl or, Doc Gallows with that. And the next thing you know, boom, new tag team champs. But to me, I think, and that was just another notification by someone, Dylan Farmer. Okay. But anyway, I could see them going to Impact and maybe in an open challenge beating the Good Brothers for the tag team titles. I could also see them going to AEW, but I don't know how well they'll do in the tag team division. They might do good. I mean, you have Maria there, and she could add something to the women's division, if you will. I mean, imagine a Maria Kanellis, Brandy Rhodes rivalry. Woo! That would be interesting. Very interesting. But we'll see. To me, though, I'm probably leaning more towards, honestly, going to throw this out there. I'm going to go the NWA again. Just like the Allure, I think the OGK is going to be NWA bound. Could you imagine? Because them in the NWA for the tag titles there, them against the British Invasion, that's a good matchup. Especially, think about it this way. You have the British Invasion, that's Doug Williams and Nick Aldis, with Mickie James at their side, against the OGK with Maria. There you go. Perfect. I can't think of a better place for them to end up. Well, Ring of Honor is on hiatus. And who else? Cheeseburger, world famous CB. I can see him being Impact. I can see him being Impact bound. I can see him being Impact bound. I mean, I could see him in AEW because it would be something AEW would be all for. But I could see world famous CB being Impact bound. I can see him aligning himself with Willie Mack and Rich Swann. I can see that. Maybe he'll go to MLW, but I think he's mostly going to be Impact bound. Downhausen, Mr. Downhausen. I can't do his voice or anything. I do apologize. So anything, but Danhausen definitely looks like he's going to be AEW bound, just based off the fact that he was on the cruise with Jericho and everything recently. So I can see him being AEW bound. He'd be a great addition. And aligning him with Abaddon, whoa! Talk about an odd, like, keep away from me couple. Perfect. Be perfect, in my opinion. But yeah, can't really think of anything else. Violence Unlimited. I can see Violence Unlimited being together, and I can see him being part of being a faction in New Japan Strong. And I can see them showing up maybe in Impact Wrestling. That's what I think. AEW would be great because Homicide's already been there, and maybe that's where they'll end up. But I think more than likely they'll be either. I'll put it this way: if I was to choose, I would say less likely right now, but still a strong possibility, AEW. More than likely is either Impact or NWA. That's what I see. So either Impact or NWA is where you're going to see Violence Unlimited show up. That's my opinion. Really, and PCO, I don't know if he's going to be retiring soon, but PCO, if he was to go anywhere, I say he's AEW bound. Just for the novelty for him being there. I could see that happening. And really, I can't think of anybody else right now right off the bat. Sledge, I could see Sledge being Impact bound. I could see that. So the Beer City Bruisers or the Bouncers, oh man, that's a big one. The Bouncers I could see going to NWA. I could see that because they got that old school feeling to them. I could see Tony Khan saying, "Hey, I want this team in AEW," but if anything, I'm going to go and say they are, and I would say they're NWA bound because they have that old school feeling to them. So I'm not going to be surprised if they show up there. And really, that's all I could say. I mean, the others I could see finding work elsewhere. LSG, I think he'd be a perfect fit for. LSG, I think he'd be a perfect fit for MLW. There's no doubt about that. And really, I can't think of anybody. Can't think of anything else. The Righteous. Oh, that's a group. Think about that. The Righteous. I could see the Righteous maybe going to. Where would they go? You have such a unique group in them. I could see the Righteous showing up maybe in Impact Wrestling. I know it's ridiculous to say, but I could see them being Impact bound. And the Shane Taylor Promotions, I could see Shane Taylor Promotions being NWA bound. I mean, I know people would say go to. I know everybody would say they should all go to AEW, but come on, AEW's got a big enough roster right now. So to me, Shane Taylor Promotions, I think, would be NWA bound, in my opinion. That's just my thought. Now, unless AEW brings in trios titles, then yeah, I could see Shane Taylor Promotions going there. But right now, I think more than likely the NWA bound. So we'll see what happens. Kenny King, I think he's going to go to AEW. There's no doubt about that. He's got that feeling to him. So I think he's AEW bound as well. So anyway, though, that's pretty much, where I see some of these talents heading. Like, basically, where do they go from here? Well, that's why I think they're going to go after Final Battles. Those areas, those are who are, I think, some of these stars that I've mentioned are going to end up based on what we saw in Final Battle and based off potentially, where you could see them probably get more exposure and more work, if you will, more opportunity. And the last but not least topic here we have here is, should reboots based on animes? Okay, let me read it. The last topic we have here is, should reboots based on certain animes and 80s cartoons be done by Netflix or any other streaming service? So, the reason I bring that up is because recently it was announced that the live-action reboot of Cowboy Bebop was basically canceled after one season. Mostly because of the fact that nobody wanted it originally. And even though people based off the trailers were willing to give it a chance, once they saw it, yeah, it was pretty much downhill from there. Now, I haven't seen it yet. And it did look good through the trailers. But honestly, you can't really do something like Cowboy Bebop without the right production. And it looked like they had the right financial backing for it. But honestly, I think it was just meant. I think one of the headlines I think somebody used in the thumbnail for their video on it said that it was set up to fail. And if that's the case, why even do it? Why even do it if you're setting it up to fail? Now, of course, you have some people that worked on it, staff and all that, and even some of the actors and actresses coming out and calling out the fans and the social media for causing it to go downhill. Here's the thing, and I think Neon and Geeky of Clownfish TV brought this up very well. Just because you get a job, on a show, that, gonna basically have a pilot. Well, not just a pilot, but if you're gonna get it, if you're hired to, okay, let me rephrase this. What they said basically was, just because you get hired for one season, for initial season of a show, whether it's a reboot of something original, or something in the past, or it's an original show, doesn't mean that initial season is going to guarantee long-term work with this show. Doesn't mean you're going to get more seasons. That initial season could mean that's it, because it all depends on the reaction. And obviously, not a lot of people were, thrilled with this live-action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop. They weren't. And honestly, I don't blame them, because here's the thing. When it comes to certain animes, you can't do a reboot. You can't do a live-action or even animated reboot on it without, pissing off a lot of fans. You can't. Unless you do it right. Unless you do it properly, that pays homage, that pays homage to the original vision. You might change up something here and there, but as long as it pays homage to the, and that was another notification, that's the Microsoft Edge delay notification. But anyway, like I said, unless it pays homage to the original source material in a way to where even if you make a few changes here and there, nobody's going to like it. Nobody's going to like it whatsoever. The reason Voltron Legendary Defender succeeded, when it got released by Netflix on courtesy of DreamWorks, the reason it succeeded is it stayed true. It stayed true to what made Voltron what it was. It paid homage to it. Yeah, it changed some things up. It took a while for the princess to finally pilot the Blue Lion, but it paid homage to the original in a very huge way. Yeah, they changed Pidge over from a boy to a girl, because pretty much, let's be honest, the original anime, dubbed or not dubbed, pretty much gave off the vibes that Pidge was a female, but it was a male. So they went and said, so DreamWorks is like, oh, screw it. Let's just go all the way. Make Pidge female. And that's what they did. That's what they did. And Crystal Star Productions is telling me Cowboy Bebop was really bad. Yeah, based off what people are saying, it was. But like I said, the reason Legendary Defender succeeded is it paid homage to the original. It didn't, it changed some things. Yeah, like I said, it changed Pidge from male to female because, like I said, the vibes of the original English dubbed anime and the non-original Japanese language anime, the uncut one, indicated Pidge was male, but it made a lot of fans mistake that he could be female. So, like I said, they just ran with it. They just said, screw it, let's just make Pidge female and be done with it, because the original design gave off those vibes. And then, like I said, even though it took a while for the princess to pilot the Blue Lion, at least she did. And they built up to that moment. They built up to it. The thing is, Legendary Defender succeeded because even though it was a reboot, it paid homage. It changed a few things, but not everything. And crazy as it sounds, same thing with She-Ra Princesses of Power. Even though people didn't like the way it was presented, the reason it succeeded and garnered a fan base is not because of the direction it was going in, not because of what Lawrence Stevenson wanted it to be and all that, but mostly for the fact that at times it was paying tribute to the original, paying homage somewhat to the original source material to an extent. Not fully, but to an extent. That's what it was paying tribute to. Not, like I said, not fully, but there were things in there that made people be like, yeah, I can get behind this, even though it's not what I thought it was going to be. I can kind of get behind this. Which is why it succeeded, much to the chagrin of a lot of people like Clownfish TV and all that. But when it comes to doing live action takes on it, I mean, everybody's questioning Amazon already about them doing a live action reboot of She-Ra Princess of Power. How is that going to play out? We don't know. But Amazon has a better reputation at doing live action series based on these kind of IPs or based on these kind of settings and worlds. So maybe it's going to be something good. Well, we don't know. We won't know until we get like the first image or trailer or teaser or whatever. But again, you have, if you're going to do a reboot of any kind, a different alternate take, if you will, of any kind, you have to stay true to the original source material. You have to have some kind of, homage. You have to have some kind of acknowledgement of where your version, your vision is coming from or was inspired from, instead of just doing your own thing. And that's about it. I mean, why do you think Friendship is Magic succeeded? Yeah, it was its own thing, but it paid tribute in many ways to the original source material. A lot of the characters, mostly like the main 6, are based off characters from the original G1 premise. Twilight Sparkle, based off the character Twilight. Applejack, based off the character Applejack. Pinkie Pie, based off Surprise. The list can go on. The point is, if you're going to do something, you need to make sure that even though it's your own vision, it has, it has an homage. It shows that you got inspiration from the original source material, so that people will be like, okay, at least he's a fan of it. At least he or she is a fan of it, and they're paying attention to it, and they're putting this in there to let us know that, to an extent. But if you're going to go off and do your own thing and change things up, especially live action or animated, fans aren't going to like it. Fans aren't going to get behind it, even before it debuts. It's like, the trailer might look good and everything. The trailer might look great and make things sound like they're going to be, and make things look very promising, I should say. But if the end result is something that is not what they expected, if not what the trailer originally promised, then you're going to be up what creek without a paddle. And that's pretty much true. It's pretty much true. I mean, screw the fact that people were upset that Faye Valentine's live action counterpart, costume wise, wasn't representative of the anime version. I get that. I understand why they did that. But if you're not going to make the Faye Valentine in live action, personality wise and everything, stay true or at least close to identicalness of the anime character, manga character that she's supposed to be based on, then why even have her character in there? If you're going to, make Edward the way she was, according to some people, compared to her anime manga counterpart, and the same with Spike and all them, it's like, why even do it? Why even do it? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. If you're going to do it, at least have some acknowledgement of what you're rebooting, which it seemed like they did. but also make sure that you have enough knowledge and research on how to present the characters. Even if the actress portraying Faye probably wasn't fond of, oh, I don't want to be that way, tell her, look, it's just for this season, and that's all you have to do. It's just for the series, and that's all you have to do. Or if not, just say, okay, fine. You don't want to be here, we'll get somebody else. I mean, look what they're doing at Black Panther, look what they're doing with Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. The actress that played Shuri is no longer working with them because of her stance on the whole vaccine situation or whatever. So they got to bring in somebody else that might look identical to her or, similar in tone, maybe, look, structure, whatever, just to finish the movie. Yeah, and that's true too. The actress that portrayed Faye went after the fans on social media. You're not supposed to do that. I mean, if you're going to talk to the fans on social media, converse with them, then you need to basically be very professional. You need to be professional about that. You need to say, look, I understand this may not be what you expect, but give it a chance. You might be surprised. That's it. Be professional, be courteous. But she wasn't. She wasn't. And that's another, and that right there, even before the series debuted, was a telltale sign to a lot of people that even though the trailer made it look good, the series was not going to be exactly what the trailer promised. And that's it. That is it. And then here's the thing. Cowboy Bebop's not the only show that got mixed reactions, if not negative reactions. Of course, I've come on here, video after video, and I'm not the only one that's talked about the mixed, if not negative reaction, Masters of the Universe Revelation got. I mean, Revelation on paper sounded good. The premise sounded good. Even with Tila as one of the lead characters, sounded good. And the trailers, just like with the Cowboy Bebop one, made it look like it was going to be good. Promised something great. But what did everybody get in the end with part one? The exact opposite of what Kevin Smith, Ted Pascali, and all of them promised, and what the trailer promised. And then part two, even though, like I said, it was a slight C+ improvement, still basically wasn't exactly what fans were hoping for. And it wasn't. And a lot of people have theorized that there could have been last-minute changes. Either script animation-wise or more than likely script and recording-wise. Basically to throw off the fans of the fact that what was originally going to be there instead, Ed, is now, was originally planned to be this. And, and I had somebody on one of the Facebook group pages that said they worked on the promotional posters and everything that was there when it was all being done, saying, oh, this was what was planned. Nothing was changed. And maybe that's true, but maybe that's them covering their own rear because they don't want the truth out there. We don't know. And look, I'm not trying to straight out say that animation was changed, even though technology has proven it can be done. But if there's last-minute script changes and recordings to salvage what was originally supposed to be and make it into something different, that's another thing. That is another thing. And who's to say, Tila calling Adam her hero, holding hands with him on the top of what? The castle or Castle Grayskull? All and everything, indicating that they're now going to be an item after the first part indicated her and Andrea was something more. It's like, if that wasn't a change, in script and in recording, I don't know what is. But again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. But when you have a lot of people theorizing, if not speculating, if not having people close to the situation kind of hinting that that's what indeed what happened, that's what indeed, into an extent, what happened, then you can't really blame anybody for being upset with something like this. If you're going to promise a show that's going to be somewhat of a sequel to the original Filmation show, then you need to make sure, one, even if you're not a fan, but you're tasked with doing it, that you do your research, you do your homework, you make sure you get all your areas, characters, world, and all that corrected. And then after you have everything set in stone, then and only then should you start proceeding? I mean, one of the things that pissed off a lot of people about the second half was Teela, when she became the new sorceress, unlike her mom, she's like, I'm going to be able to go wherever I want now. Whee! I can do better than my mom. And that pissed a lot of people off. They were like, where's this Zodiac guy that's supposed to keep things in order? And here's the thing. I think if they are going to do another season of this, another season of Revelation, another 2-part season, if you will, I could see Zodiac showing up there. I could see them bringing in Zodiac and having Zodiac confront Teela and be like, yeah, you are the new sorceress, but you can't just go willy-nilly wherever you want. You're meant to be here. I can see a story, a little sub-arc like that playing out. I can. I can actually see that happening. But again, when you have fans pointing that out, they're like, that doesn't make sense. Well, all because she changes the verbiage from I to we when it comes to having the power? You know, I can understand that. I can understand that. And I can see that being one of the reasons fans get pissed about this stuff. Because it's not staying true to the source material. Or at least paying somewhat homaging or paying tribute to the original source material and going off in its own direction. I can understand that. I can understand where they're coming from. I really can. But again, if Netflix and other streaming services like Amazon, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, and whoever else out there, you know, Apple Plus, you name it, you know, if they're going to do they're going to do reboots on certain anime from the past or certain 80s to 90s, 70s cartoons or whatever of the past, you know, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think anybody else has a problem with that. As long as they stay true to what they're rebooting. As long as they stay true to it and to an extent. You know, in other words, if you're going to do something, you know, that you see from your own point of view, you can do your own vision, that's fine, but make sure you stay true to some of the source material. Pay homage to it, pay tribute to it, show through certain stories and Easter eggs or whatever that, hey, you did your homework, you're paying attention to how it should be presented, then that way you won't get crapped upon by fans and when you do it. So in my opinion, I don't have a problem if Netflix, if Hulu, if HBO Max, Disney Plus, Apple Plus, Paramount Plus, you know, you name it, you know, Amazon. I don't mind if they do YouTube. I don't mind if they do reboots on certain animes or 80s cartoons, 70s cartoons, 90s cartoons, whatever, you know, for today. I don't mind that. And neither does anybody else, like I said, as long as it has some, some homage, some tribute, some, extension or, if you will, some connectivity to the original source material that shows the person or people behind it did their homework and knows that they need to keep it this way so that fans will be satisfied and won't complain. So again, I have no problem, with these, streaming services doing these things, doing reboots, as long as they do it in a way that doesn't, get negative reaction and promises what it's going to be, if you will. So that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion on it. But anyway, in closing, like I said, should reboots based on certain animes and 80s cartoons be done by streaming by places like Netflix and other streaming services? Absolutely. I have no problem with that. I don't have no problem with that whatsoever. As long as it's done right and done as almost a tribute to the original source material. And once you do that, I guarantee you won't have no problems whatsoever. So I don't have a problem with it as long as it's done right and as a tribute. But anyway, though, guys, that's going to be about it. I've been going for almost 2.5 hours now. Wow. It's been, like I said, it's been a while since I've done the Topics on My Mind live stream. But thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all of you guys in the live chat. Really appreciate you guys showing up. Really, really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thank you to all of you guys in the live chat. Like I said, for showing up, really appreciate you guys' support there. So, like I said at the beginning, guys, comment down below in this post live stream when you watch it after the live stream is over. Also, check me out at my Teespring store. It's time for Christmas. You can find some stuff there. I'm sure you enjoy getting for friends and family, even yourself. Also, check me out at BW Rose's Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations, except for Pandora. I am close to 300 podcasts. This will probably be put up there as part of the podcast later on. So check that out. Also, if you're listening through Anchor.fm, if you're listening to this podcast, I should say, on Anchor.fm, listener support has been activated if you want to help support me there. Also, check me out at BW Roses on VENMO for content you can't get here on YouTube in case of copyright reasons. Also, check me out at patreon.com at BW Roses to support me at the $1 or $3 tier. Also, check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2. So until next time, guys, thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. And I will talk to y'all later. I'm going to go get me some lunch and also got to get my dog outside so she can go potty before we get downpoured again, if you will, as I entangle myself here from my thing. But yeah, thank y'all for watching, and I will talk to y'all later. God bless. Take care.